Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome back to another explainer, everyone. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating dynamic: why success seems to just slip through the fingers of so many people. It's a massive topic for sure, but the source material we're analyzing today breaks the whole thing down into this incredibly actionable visual roadmap. We're going to explore the psychology behind quitting, uncover those hidden traps sneaking into our daily routines, and look at the surprisingly simple shifts that actually build momentum. Let's get started.
So why do most people never become successful? It's the ultimate question, right? You look around and it is so easy to assume the people at the top are just uniquely gifted. Or, maybe they were just born under a lucky star. We tend to build up this total myth that highly accomplished individuals possess some supernatural ability to just operate at 100% every single second of the day. But the sources we're exploring point to a completely different and honestly a much more grounded truth. The answer has absolutely nothing to do with being unlucky, and it really isn't about lacking talent.
All right, let's get into section 1, why we stop early. Here's the thing. It's not bad luck. They just stopped early. That's literally the core thesis of what we're looking at today. People don't fail because the universe is somehow rigged against them. They fail because they quit right before the work actually pays off. It's essentially this huge tragedy of timing. Imagine planting a seed, right? You meticulously water it for weeks, you're checking the soil every day, and then you just decide to walk away and quit just a single day before the sprout finally breaks through the surface. That is exactly what happens with our biggest goals. We put in all that difficult initial effort, but when the reward isn't immediate, well, our patience runs out and we fold.
So what actually makes us abandon that seed? Well, it usually comes down to one of these really common roadblocks. First up, we doubt our skills. The second things get tough or confusing, imposter syndrome creeps right in, and we convince ourselves we just don't have what it takes. Second, a lack of support makes us second-guess our whole path. We expect this big cheering section, and when it's quiet, we assume we've made a terrible mistake. Third, sudden distractions pull our focus away from the hard work. But honestly, the most paralyzing factor is the fear of future failure. We sit around in the present and absolutely agonize over a future outcome that hasn't even happened yet. We wonder, what if I finish this whole project and it fails anyway? By stressing over that imaginary future, we completely paralyze our ability to do anything in the present.
Which brings us to section 2, escaping your comfort zone.
All those roadblocks we just talked about, they basically push us into hiding. And I love this admission from the creator of our source material because it is just so relatable. They say, even I am one of the person who is distracted right now, usually on social media while scrolling. In our digital age, especially right now, the trap isn't just sitting on the couch doing nothing. It's active distraction. We endlessly scroll, we read threads, we binge videos, all the while convincing ourselves we're being productive or learning something new. But in reality, we're just hiding from doing the actual work.
This brings us to a really massive pivot point: gathering content versus executing content. Look, when you're constantly scrolling, reading, and researching, you are just gathering. You're operating entirely as a consumer. And it feels super safe because, hey, learning feels like progress. But to actually succeed, there comes a definitive moment where you have to declare your gathering phase over. You have to transition to executing. You've got to take those gathered resources, all those ideas, all that inspiration, and start putting your own work out into the world. Execution is where success actually lives, and it requires crossing a very, very uncomfortable threshold.
And if you don't make that pivot to execution, well, you're stuck in the comfort zone. The source defines this as an environment that provides laziness and traps you inside a shell, preventing you from figuring out your exact perspective. I want you to really think about that metaphor of a shell for a second. As long as you stay inside it, totally insulated from criticism and failure, you're completely cut off from your true path. The comfort zone doesn't feel dangerous at all. It feels safe, warm, and easy. And that is exactly why it's so lethal to your success. You literally cannot find your unique perspective until you actively choose to break that shell.
Let's move on to section 3, the danger of comparison.
A huge reason we retreat back into that cozy little shell is because of the illusion of success we're bombarded with every day. Just look at the stark contrast between what we see and what we completely ignore. On one hand, we see huge success, great fame, someone who seemingly has everything figured out. But we totally ignore their past hard work. We ignore the years of heart they spent searching in the dark. And we ignore their painfully slow growth. When you're in the trenches struggling and you look at someone who's already highly successful, it can literally destroy your own momentum. Falsely focusing only on someone's current peak blinds you to the grueling, incredibly unglamorous climb they had to endure to actually get there. Because the actual reality of success, it looks a whole lot more like this timeline. Day 1, you start. Months in,
Boom, you face failure, and you get judged by others. Years go by as you persist through this incredibly slow period of growth. And only after running that massive gauntlet do you finally reach success. Every single person goes through this exact pipeline. The idols you're comparing yourself to, they were once beginners who failed, who felt completely lost, and who were heavily judged. Understanding this fundamental truth completely neutralizes the toxic nature of comparison. It reminds you that your current struggles aren't some red flag telling you to quit. They are just a normal, absolutely necessary step on this timeline.
All right, Section 4, Consistency and Daily Discipline.
So how on earth do we actually push through that grueling timeline without just giving up? The source hits the nail on the head here. Consistency is the key. It sounds incredibly simple, I know, but it is the ultimate antidote to stopping early. Remember that seed analogy from earlier? Consistency just means showing up to water it on a daily basis, especially on the days when the immediate results are nowhere to be found and you feel like you're making zero progress. The upward trajectory of hard work only kicks in if you absolutely refuse to break the chain.
And we can break this down into 3 super practical steps. Number 1, stop overthinking the future. Seriously, let go of the worry about outcomes that haven't even happened yet. Number 2, focus entirely on the present. Direct all your energy into the execution you can actually control right now. And number 3, make life a little more disciplined. You do not have to radically reinvent who you are overnight, and you definitely don't have to perfectly mimic the idols you admire. Simply adding just a little more structure to your daily routine and focusing entirely on what you can do today yields much more authentic and sustainable results than blindly worrying about tomorrow. Ultimately, this is the big takeaway here. Small, daily changes create big, future changes. You literally don't need these massive, sweeping gestures to become successful. You just need to put the phone down, break out of the shell of your comfort zone, and make tiny, consistent adjustments. Reading 1 chapter, writing 1 page, coding for just 1 hour. Those small dominoes compound over time, and they are the true, proven drivers of real change.
Which leaves us with one incredibly important question for you to chew on. Are you ready to leave your comfort zone and start today? Not tomorrow, not next week when you magically feel more prepared, but right now. The timeline is super clear, the difference between gathering and executing is laid out, and honestly, the only thing standing in the way of your progress is the decision to keep going when things get slow. I really hope this explainer gave you the clarity to push past those mental blocks and keep watering that seed. Thanks so much for joining me, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.